Thanks for joining us on the programme. British Prime Minister Theresa May has greeted French presidential hopeful Emmanuel Macron in London. The meeting came on an unusual trip to rally support among French expats in the English capital.
The key to my strategy is to defend the special relationship between Great Britain and Europe, and particularly between Great Britain and France. I think it would be a huge mistake for both Great Britain and Europe if the UK were to distance itself from Europe and abandon common projects because of Brexit.
Theresa May's decision to meet Macron is seen as part of a policy of refusing to engage with Macron's anti-establishment rival Marine Le Pen. However, the Prime Minister's spokesperson denied the meeting shows Theresa May's bias towards the centrist candidate. And with just 2 months left until the voting day, hysteria has already started to spread in the media yet again over alleged Russian hacking of the French elections. And the claims originated from Emmanuel Macron's camp. And our correspondent tried to catch up with him during his London visit to find out where he's getting the evidence of alleged Russian hacking.
Do you have any evidence that Russian hackers are hacking your emails?
No, I don't. I mean, we have evidence of attacks coming from Ukraine and Russia. We have evidence of the fact that some very well-known Russian website conveyed rumors and common opinion. So we just make a wake-up call, and I noticed that our president and the national security advisors reacted very promptly about this.
And will you release it? Will you release it? Will you release the evidence?
Now, from his answer, it was unclear exactly what he meant by Russian websites showing remorse. And even when I asked him when he would produce that evidence or whether he would produce that evidence, he had walked off and wasn't willing to answer the question. Now, the Kremlin have rejected these allegations, saying that they fall under a pattern of anti-Russian hysteria. And these aren't the only elections the Russians are alleged to have been interfering in. The American losing candidate Hillary Clinton repeatedly, her campaign accusing the Russians of interfering to help Donald Trump win. But yet, when evidence is asked to be brought forth, American officials were somewhat not so forthcoming.
It doesn't mean that there isn't additional evidence out there. I'm sure that there is. But there is a priority that's placed on protecting sources and methods.
We would be protecting sources and methods.
When you're talking about cybersecurity, a lot of it is classified, and we're not going to provide it.
German intelligence also confirmed that there was no smoking gun to allegations that, again, Russian hackers had somehow been trying to interfere in German politics. So we see somewhat of a pattern. Many allegations, many accusations being thrown towards Russia or Russian hackers, but very little in the way of evidence coming forward.
Meanwhile, Max Kaiser looks at the economic consequences for the UK of quitting the EU. That's in the latest episode of Boom Bust. You can watch the full version throughout the day here on this network.
The real income of the average Brit will suffer dramatically under Brexit. It's the stupidest thing anyone could have voted. It's an own goal. It's moronic. They're going to rue the day they voted Brexit. The GDP of the UK versus the EU is maybe 4%, whereas the GDP percentage of trade that the UK does with the EU is like 17, 18, 19%. It's 5 times greater. The EU could basically play games with the UK all day long, and they're going to lose at most 3 or 4% of GDP across the board, and they're willing to sacrifice that to just get rid of this little pit bull, you know, biting their ankles.
English bulldog.
Yeah, English bulldog, English pit bulldog, you know, biting at their ankles. It's not worth it. Just get rid of them. Dump the UK and be done with them.